John Seiler here with Behind the News and my buddy Ali. He's helping me with our exploration of what's going on in China, and beginning with President Trump is over in South Korea meeting with Xi Jinping. And I have a special book here, Xi Jinping, The Governance of China, Volume 5, came out in July. A couple months ago. I've been reading this, dipping into it. I'm going to read the whole thing. I'll talk about that in a minute, but of course President Trump is over there, and we have just a little excerpt here of...
We'll agree to some more right now, but President Xi is a great leader of a great country, and I think we're going to have a fantastic relationship for a long period of time, and it's an honor to have you with us. Thank you very much. Thank you.
President Trump, it is a great pleasure for me as well to meet you. And it feels very warm seeing you again because it's been many years. Since your re-election, we have spoken on the phone 3 times, exchanged several letters, and stayed in close contact. And our
So they have some agreements over there. We'll see how things pan out in the end. And but I wanted to talk about this book. Last year, the book of the year, which I mentioned several times on my Substack, go to johnseiler.substack.com, was Nuclear War, Scenario by Ann Jacobson. Get this one to read it. But this year, it's Xi Jinping, The Governance of China. And this book you can get on Amazon. I'll leave a link. For the hardcover, it's $36.95, or you can get a used one for $13.99. And the paperback is $24.95, or you can get a used one for $9.99. Some pretty good prices, and this is a substantial book. I used to read Soviet books and Maoist books back in the communist days, and they were very badly made, just cheap materials because of socialism, communism. But this one is just substantial. I mean, you can't say, they say you can't judge a book by the cover, but this means something because they put a lot of thought into it, and the translations are all excellent. They have smart people over there that do this, and also English speakers. So I wanted to start with the beginning. Here we have a publisher's note. This is interesting because, let me get this. It's approved by Xi Jinping, of course, but this is the publisher who's gone unnamed. Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era is a major theoretical innovation in the process of integrating the basic tenets of Marxism with China's realities and the best of its traditional culture. They call it the 2 integrations. Now, this is really interesting. They call it, they've done this for 40 years, even longer, 45 years. Deng Xiaoping came up with this idea, socialism with Chinese characteristics, which is basically a kind of, the government does some things and promotes the private sector, which is sort of what we have. Every country has that nowadays. We don't have anything pure to, close to what the almost pure capitalism of 19th century America was like. But let me get this other thing here. Oops. And I had... Chat, what is the word for socialism in Chinese?
In Chinese, the word for socialism is 社会主义, pronounced 社会主义.
社会主義. What does that mean if you break it down?
Absolutely. So if you break it down, the Chinese term 社会主义 is made up of a couple of parts. First, 社会 means society or social, and then 主义 basically means an ism or a kind of ideology or doctrine. So when you put it together, it's literally the ideology of society or socialism.
I'm not a Chinese scholar, but I know a little bit about languages, and you have to probably know quite a bit about China to know exactly what they mean by 社会主義. You have to know quite a bit about it because it's just like in English. Socialism could mean just society, trying to make society better, but we know it's like an ideology. And how we interpret it certain ways, we got it from Europe. That's where it started. And in China, they do the same thing. They have their own interpretation. So let's go through a little bit here. I marked a couple chapters. There we go. I like this one here. Press forward with Chinese modernization, page 132. This is President Xi, what he talks about. The best way to commemorate Comrade Mao Zedong is to carry forward the cause he pioneered, building China into a great country and realizing national rejuvenation through Chinese modernization is the central task of the whole party and the whole country on our journey in the new era. So they still honor Mao. If you see, they have pictures of him up in Tiananmen Square. He's on the money. Even though everybody knows, they know he killed about 60 million people, but they look on Mao as he's the guy that, first of all, drove out the Japanese invaders who came there in 1931 and killed many millions of people, tens of millions. And actually, it was the nationalist Chinese under Chiang Kai-shek who did most of the fighting against the Japanese, but the communists did as well. And then, of course, later on, the communists won in the country and took over and pushed the nationalist Chinese over to Taiwan, where they still are. And so they still honor Mao for that reason. And also, Mao ended what they call the century of humiliation, where the foreigners of various sorts, first Europeans and then the Japanese, took over the country and caused a lot of problems. And this is an interesting one, chapter called Develop a High-Quality Private Sector. So they integrated into Maoism or hardcore communism the high-quality private sector. This is President Xi again. It's page 221 and 222. As a bridge that connects the party and all the government with entrepreneurs in the private sector, the All China Federation of Industry and Commerce, ACFIC, assists the government in its administration of and service to the private sector. I hereby urge the ACFIC to prioritize efforts in the following three areas. First, bolstering the confidence of private enterprise. We should optimize the business environment for private enterprises, remove institutional barriers that impede their fair participation in market competition, and better protect their property rights and legitimate rights and interests of entrepreneurs. To practically have that in the Republican Party platform, not the platform of Mamdani in New York. Of course, he's a communist. Second, promoting the high quality development of the private sector. They look on the government as kind of promoting it, like through the high speed rail, with roads, with education, and so on. Let's see, number 3 is somewhere. Third, guiding private enterprises to fill their social responsibilities. Chinese modernization is centered on the goal of common prosperity for all. So that's a little bit socialist right there. But we also have here, this is another chapter. And big on education, I did a video yesterday, and I did a Substack about how their scientific institutions have taken over the whole world now. The number 1 in science, and number 2 is Harvard, and of the top 10, 8 are Chinese universities and institutions. So, build China into an education powerhouse is this chapter. It's a speech he gave. Third, we will improve the quality and standards of education as a public service. Upholding a people-centered approach, we will make education more inclusive, accessible, and convenient, and ensure that success in education, reform, and development benefit all of our people in a fair way. By inclusive, they don't mean what we do by DEI, that's for sure. What they mean is everybody gets a chance to compete like crazy against each other, and then that's how they produce great products and take over the world with their economy, because they're ahead of us now. And listen to this, we will further implement the National Digital Strategy for Education by developing and utilizing the Smart Education of China platform. We will also leverage artificial intelligence in education reform and explore effective digital means to facilitate individualized learning, on a large scale and create more innovative forms of teaching that allow a greater number of people to benefit from high quality education. So they don't waste time on it like we have all these crazy programs on DEI, and in California we're finally getting rid of bilingual education, which was a total disaster. And now this is an interesting chapter here, page 376. Support Chinese modernization with high quality population development. President Xi he acknowledges here they had this one-child problem that they started 40 years ago, and they just got rid of it 10 years ago. Where they aborted children. If you had one more and got pregnant, if you had one child and got pregnant, they would abort the child forcibly. And our population, so-called women's rights groups, did not object. You know, they talk about choice, but in China, where there was no choice, but that has brought them such a low population growth that they're worried about it now. President Xi says, let's see, listen to this. We should adopt a dialectical perspective on the impact of negative population growth. That shows how they're still Marxists, because Marxists talk about the dialectic, which they got from Hegel. Anyway, in just a few decades, China has reached a level of industrialization that took developed countries more than a century. And he's saying that they did that with limiting population, which is not correct. They got that from the Rockefeller Foundation, the Ford Foundation, and after Mao died. Mao was against any kind of population control, and they had high birth rate. A lot of it was because those 60 million people he carried, you need to replace those people, make sure to keep the population up. And they call this, he says, we should build a correct understanding of the demographic dividend, which he means the reduction in population, which he's wrong on. But they have to integrate that into what they did. And then the rest of us, that is, next, to promote balanced population development in the long term, we will redefine our policy system to boost birth rates. Now, they've been trying to do that, and we've been trying to do that in America, or in other developed countries, through helping families with lower taxes, maybe, and other benefits. And nothing has worked really so far anywhere. We'll have to see how that turns out. And religion plays a part into it, but they suppress religion over there. So it'll be interesting to see how they develop that, because they have more of a centralized dictatorship, of course. There's some movement to address what the people want, and certainly they're giving the people tremendous prosperity. All these new cities that work fantastic. You can see on YouTube people have videos about going over there, but they have this problem. Maybe they'll figure out a way around it. Maybe they won't, because like in Hong Kong, which has a lot more freedom than China, it's like one per woman, and in the mainland China, it's 1.2, something like that. So that's the problem they have. President Xi's book, I will put a link in the description. And where'd Ollie go? Oh, there he is. Come on. Here's Ollie. I'll get him a treat here. Whoa. And we have a beautiful day here in California. Take him for a walk in a minute. It's going to be 86 degrees. It's already 83 degrees. So it's not like that in New York City, that's for sure. Here we go, Ollie. These are great Ollie treats. I'll leave a link again. Ollie, here we go. There we go. Wait. Another one. He loves these things. Oops. There we go. Okay, goodbye everybody, and get this book. This is essential reading now. I'm dipping into it so far, but it's a little bit bureaucratic, of course, but it's worth getting through. It's well written. There's a bureaucratic document which I read thousands. Okay, everybody have a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow, I hope. Bye.